Welcome to Prosper's online prosperity show, and we are going to have some good fun with our wives and teach you how to get into property. So let's do it, shall we?
Now, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. And today, I brought you the property mentor and property educator, Craig. Craig, how are you doing there today?
I'm terrific, thanks, Prosper. Thanks very much for having me along. It's great to be amongst your crowd.
Fantastic. Well, I bet with your expertise, your education, and with the knowledge that you have in the property sector, today you're going to be shedding us a little bit of light on how we too can start, scale, and grow a property portfolio that we would be proud of. Now, obviously, property is yet another instrument that people can invest. A lot of people are working far too hard in their businesses, and they would be wanting to put out a bit of money out there so that it can, help them, towards building their wealth. Tell us a little bit about your business and how you actually got started there, Craig.
Like a lot of businesses in this world, I guess I got started by accident and a bit of passion here and there. I went along about 14 years ago, and I went to a property seminar, as you do in Australia, and I bought a place off the plan, and it was terrific, and it went on. And then I realized I went along to another property education thing 3 days later, and I realized, oops, I made the first mistake of property investing. I bought something off a developer, off the plan. Guess who made all the money? And it wasn't me. So I guess that got me interested. How could I have done it better? And I'd been in the IT industry for over 20 years at that stage. So I plodded along in the IT industry, but it really got me thinking, how can I do it better and do things better? So I started looking into investing, and I went along and I did all these courses. Any course came up, I was there. 1 day, half day, I was an addict. So did a lot of 5-day courses and learnt a lot of things. And most of all, what I learnt was what not to do. How do people actually lose their money when they go investing as such? Are they actually gambling instead of investing? And found out a lot of people do. They just gamble. They spend more time looking in and researching for their holidays than they do looking into their property investments, which is probably the biggest thing they'll do in their life. So, yeah, that was the key to it, really. And I guess that went on, and I did a number of things. When it became a conveyancer, so that I knew how to buy properties. I went and became a mortgage broker again, so I knew how I should borrow money. I went and bought a few properties, sold a couple here and there as well. I've bought some bad ones, bought some good ones, made some mistakes, and most of all, I've developed a fantastic network of people around me, so that what I don't know, I know the people that do know. And having that network around you is a key to success, I believe. And that's not just in the property or the investing market. It's in every business, every type of entrepreneurship or business that you start up. You've got to have those key people around you that have the knowledge, have the experience, and have made the mistakes before you, so that you don't have to make those mistakes again.
Understandable. Well, thank you so much for that insight into how you got started and why this passion has drove you to want to help other people so that they don't fall into the same mistakes that you have went through, because in life, we're here to live, we're here to learn, and we're here to contribute. And we can't learn all. I mean, people learn mainly from mistakes, but we can't make all the mistakes, and some mistakes are costly. And people like yourself have already done them, so that other people can learn off of. So, what is it now that you help people with? If somebody comes up to you, Craig, and they want to learn, about maybe picking up a property within, Melbourne, or something that you're familiar with.
Well, what I do these days is I've set up a vast repository of training programs up on the internet. So I actually sell them a training program which hooks them up. They can get onto the internet 24/7 and watch the videos, watch the training programs, download the checklists, work through the worksheets, and they can do this for particular projects that they've got on. If they've got a reno project on, they can go and study the renovation sections. If they're doing a new purchase, they can do the same thing. And I'm accumulating these as I go along and adding more and more to it. So that's how I'm trying to help people. But you spoke of my passion. My passion is actually sitting 2 rooms away in his bedroom, and that is my 19-year-old son.
Oh.
And these days in Australia, it is so hard to get into the property market. And I wonder, how is he and my niece, who's 19 as well, how is she going to get into the property market? This is why I'm doing it, to try and give ways they can become educated, save up, figure out how to get into the property market, because there's a lot of different ways. I was talking with a childcare worker today, and her salary is $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
I know this because my wife is a childcare worker, and she certainly never got paid 30 grand a year. So she's wanting to get into the property market, and she said, oh, I could get grants and first homeowner grants, and that should help. But seriously, unless you're going to go and live out in the boondocks, out in the bush, the grants are not going to be of any use to you, because you're then not going to be able to get a bank loan. You need to have the cash flow to support the loan as well. And a lot of people don't have that cash flow. So she said, how can I get into the property market? I said, well, there are ways, and it goes back to about these networks. These days, there's something called crowdfunding, where a $500,000 property, as an example, they'll sell you $5,000 shares in that property. So you'll buy 1% of the property for $5,000. They'll keep that property for a certain period or do something to it, and in 3 years' time, sell that. So you'll get 1% of the profit as well. So you'll get your money back plus 1% of the profit. So for $5,000, these days, people can get into the property market. That wasn't possible 3 years ago. That is possible today. So it's a matter of figuring out how people can get in. And that's just one of the small strategies that I help people with.
Understandable. Like right now, that is something that even, I myself did not know I could just buy a little nook in the city there and it would be making money for me. So thank you so much for that value that you have just brought up us to. You also mentioned a really valid point where, kids or, people at a certain age right now cannot enter into the Australian market, and there's not a lot of people that are teaching them out there, or if they are, they're just selling them a get rich quick scams, which maybe one of them you were sold to earlier. How can people notice the difference between a genuine, property advisor and somebody who's just really trying to sell them a dundas that's behind the scenes that they're just trying to offload off the market?
Okay, first of all, I don't want to bag my colleagues out there and say get rich quick. So just for all those that are watching, however, there are a lot of developers out there, and their goal is to put money in, develop a product, and sell it and make money. That's their business statement, and you can't knock them for that. That is what they're there to do. The question is, does this person coming into the property market actually know what this person's role is. That their role is to make money out of them. So it's a matter of understanding, doing your research and understanding all the parties in the deal and what their motivations are. You have to understand where everybody is making their money. I particularly like to work on something that a guy called Stephen Kovacs from Brisbane taught me once, and it was his wife principle. What's in it for everyone? So everyone has to win. And yeah, I was actually in a car once and Steve Kovacs rang the day after that I saw him present that concept and had it on speakerphone. And I said, "Oh, Steve," I said, "I saw you yesterday." I said, "Can I keep your wife and use your wife?" the person sitting in the passenger side of the car just looked at me. "What are you talking about?" So I always have to thank Stephen Kovac for his wife. Oh, I do believe I'm blushing. But it's a great concept. It really is, and I love that. You've got to understand where everybody's motivations are, where everybody's making money, and everybody should win in the deal. And that's how I try and teach people, and certainly what I believe in.
Understandable. Well, you did raise a valid concept there about making profits. Obviously, people get into the property business so that they can, make some sort of retainer or some sort of wealth building strategy. Now, can you treat real estate as or property investment as a business if you are, just working, or can you just leave it to the professionals to look after it for yourself?
You can leave it to professionals, but seriously, who's going to look after it better than you? You've got to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just risking it. For example, I once went along to, I'm in Melbourne, went along to a financial advisor in very tall building down Collins Street, which is the financial sector. And
Wall Street.
The first thing he said to me was, he said, "This house that you've got in the ACT," he said, "you've got to sell that." He said, "and buy something, da-da-da-da-da." Now, that house in the ACT has bought me 5 houses since.
Exactly.
If I had taken his advice, because it's not his money, Ralph, so he doesn't care. It's not him that's got to put the food on the table at the end of the day. Right. If he's paying for it, then he gets to have an opinion. But if I'm paying for it, then I have to make the decision and I have to live by it. You can take your advice, but unless that person is paying your bills, you have to make the decision and you have to take control.
Understandable, because obviously, like my question to you here is really, predicated on the fact that property is in the too hard basket. Not a lot of people know who to talk to or what to say or what questions to ask. Okay. And, nobody knows what to do. And that's the reason why it becomes, maybe if somebody purchases a property, they have to just have only the one property and they're not going to grow their portfolio, So, with the way the current financial situation, we only have maybe 1% of property investors that are actually retiring financially free. And like you said, most of the people are knee deep with debt and they can't really get out of the debt. What sort of advice can you give to people that are getting into the property market, and what should they really, really look out for? Should they go in quickly so that they have the rest of their lives to pay, or should they make it happen as they go along? Because that's the advice that's out there on the market right now.
They should get into the property market as soon as they can. There's no doubt about that. However, they've got to get in. They may not be able to get into it where they would like to. They may not be able to buy around the corner. They might have to buy out in the country. They might have to buy a dilapidated house. But they should get in as fast as they can. with whatever they can, because property does grow in value traditionally if you buy well. And you've got to buy well, which is the key, really. You've got to make your money when you buy. But get in as quickly and as often as you can with property. It will give you a good amount of return, but you've got to buy well. That's pretty much it, really.
Understandable. Well, obviously you have dropped with us a lot of value, and pretty much after this, I'm seriously going to ask if I can also borrow your wife, Craig. And
it's Steve's wife, not mine, but don't tell everyone.
All right. So at the end of the day, people are coming to the internet to get information, and all this information will really, really help them to, maybe make concrete decisions and make decisions that, would make sure that they're not going to be falling prey to the people that we just spoke about, and also, losing a lot of money and, their emotions and stuff like that. How can people get a hold of you so that they can get to learn more about what it is that you do and how you can help them?
They can head across to my website, i-buy-property.com, or they can go to my Facebook page, which is Create Wealth Through Property.
Understandable.
And have a look at that. Now, I would like to leave people with 4 things, if that's okay.
Sure. I was going to ask, if you can let us know one other thing that can be of value, so that we don't end up borrowing your wife.
Well, I'll give you 4 because I always love to add value. And
okay.
These, I promise you, will save you and make you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So grab your pen and get ready to write. First one is, don't buy off the plan. Second one is cross-collateralization. Don't do it. And if you don't know what it is, don't do it. So, third one is get yourself educated. Fourth one is know who's making the money where. If you can do all 4 of those things, you are a long way ahead of everybody else out there in the marketplace.
Wow, that is absolutely profound, because a lot of people are being sold off the plan properties, especially in Richmond, especially in all those other areas that are just sprouting because every second shop is getting elevated, So yeah. Yes, people are being sold from plans that are going to be, featured in 2020 or 2019 or whatever it is. And by the time that comes through, probably your money is no longer worth anything and you are already knee deep in debt. And cross-collateralization is something that I will have to look at, because maybe it is yet another 8th wonder of the world. I do know if you use collateral with different properties and something like that. I'm not quite sure. And
you are good. You are good. That's it.
Understandable, right. And getting yourself educated. I don't know if you can literally look behind me. I'm swimming in... in education right there, but obviously the audience would want to know that that is well and truly catered for, and actually knowing where the money is being made. As a disclaimer, we are not paying Craig to give you this information here, so he's not making any money. He's actually just letting us borrow his wife for this show here. So I cannot thank you enough for, first of all, the laughs, the methods, and the value that you've just imparted on us there, Craig, on the show today. And I am going to be putting down all the details on how people can get a hold of you so that, they can continue the conversation with you as soon as they finish. Thank you so much, Craig, today.
You're most welcome, Prosper. I hope there's no lawsuits coming out of this. Thank you very much. You have a great one, okay?
You're right, sir. Thank you. All right.
You are going to get me into so much trouble.
I love got this. It's the
I'm never going to get another interview.